Friday blessings, mystical souls. I'm Chloe Rose, founder and creatrix of Mystic Hearts, and welcome to your weekly episode of Wandering and Pondering, where I bring you with me on a beautiful casual stroll around the glorious Oxfordshire countryside here in the UK and just have a very unrehearsed, casual, candid chat about whatever is on my heart and my mind at the time, or things that I just feel that I want to share with you here. And after a week of rain and some serious storms here in the UK, it is wonderful to finally be outside. And I came on a walk yesterday and I was just so in awe and blown away by how beautiful and green everything is, and just listen to the birds. Like, nature is so happy after the rain. So I was like, yes, okay, I'm going to do this exact same walk just so that you can witness with me how beautiful and how happy Mother Nature is right now. Oh, I've just got to go through a gate. And when we get into the part of the Witchwood Forest, which we're going to, which now I am officially calling the Elven Tree Forest, I'm going to show you some of the most beautiful trees, which look like they are straight out of Rivendell from Lord of the Rings. And Tolkien lived around here. So I remember when I first moved here, which was around 4 years ago, and I first started walking around here, I was just totally awestruck and breathtaken. Breathtaken? Is that a word? My breath was taken away by all of the artistic structures of the trees around here. And there are just so many portals, you know, where the trees bend and you're just invited through the portals. So I'm excited to share it with you today, because we are in that transitioning phase of spring to summer. We've got a few weeks now until the longest day here in the UK on the 20th of June, the summer solstice. So yeah, it's a really beautiful, beautiful time of year. And it's funny, I've been having lots of internal dialogue this week. So it will be interesting to see what comes through in this conversation and this chat with you today. And yeah, something that I've found interesting, and this is some things I've already been sharing this week on my channel, is that over the weekend we had that huge, powerful supermoon, which was apparently like a once in a blue moon, rare supermoon, something like that. And I've kind of consciously chosen recently to disconnect myself a little bit from bless you, there's a sheep and it just sneezed. Oh, it's really bright now. Hello, good morning. So recently I've just really consciously chosen to disconnect myself from the cycles of the moon and, identifying with astrology and things like that, just because I felt that it was kind of taking my power away a little bit. And then this weekend I was totally humbled because, well, first and foremost, I had no idea that it was going to be a supermoon. And my friend and I went to stay in London with a friend, and we were walking back from the shop. We went to get some popcorn. We were walking back from the shop and we were like, oh my goddess, the moon looks like the sun setting. The moon was huge, and that really eerie, like golden but also greyish colour in the sky. Yeah, and then there were just moments throughout the weekend where I really felt these old, outdated feelings within myself. And when I say feelings, it was almost vibrational states that I was re-experiencing from past versions of myself, and they were very much operating on the vibration. Oh God, I just slipped in poo. Oh no. Ew. I really hope that's sheep's poo and not something more stinky. Caught on camera, the day in the life of living in the countryside and being a wild woman. So these feelings of fear and anxiety and really bone deep panic that everything is going to work out for the worst, and crazy anxiety levels that I haven't felt for, I would say, probably at the last huge turning point in my life, which was in 2020. Surprise, surprise. Where I lost my home, I lost my job, I moved country, I literally started my life from scratch. And that was the last time I had experienced feeling these sensations that came up for me over the weekend. And I was like, oh, damn. And it was a lot to sit with that. And also something that I really felt into was luckily now, because of the continual work that I choose to do and continually choosing to be self-aware, I recognize that these feelings were not mine. And when it's a full moon, a lot of parasitic energy comes to the surface, and collective energy is amplified. And I recognize that there's a lot of collective fear bubbling to the surface. And of course, a lot of humanity are still choosing to not choose a path of self-awareness. They are still choosing to not be awakened and just continue their life, and that's their choice. But what happens when that is the case is that, these cycles and these energy surges happen, and it can feel really, really intense, because it's almost like this force trying to push people to recognize parts of their self that are still laying dormant. So I recognize that a lot of this fear was not my own. It's absolutely not the highest vibration of my being and my expression. And what I also recognized was that, this is something I've talked about so many times, so you might be thinking stuck record, but when these moments of real despair and fear and anxiety come to the surface, it's like, the level boss in a PlayStation game. It's like the level boss before you get to the next level. Always. And God, it can be so easy to just crumple under the weight of fear and anxiety and despair. And that's why in England, in this country, we have such problems with drugs and alcohol and food addiction and porn addiction and entertainment addiction, because it feels easier to fall under the spell of blissful ignorance than to actually sit with the fears. And by the way, fear isn't real. Fear isn't real. Fear is just a vibration. Fear holds no weight over us. Fear is the opposite to love. A lot of people think that hate is the opposite to love. Fear is actually the opposite to love. And when we compare those two vibrational states, love conquers fear always. Love has so much power And I know it's easier said than done, because when we're in the thick of fear and in the thick of anxiety and despair and pity and panic and victimhood, gosh, it is so easy to get swallowed whole by that monster. But if we can even just closing a gate, bear with me, dose ourselves, even with like the smallest elixir of love, it makes so much difference, you know. And so some of these feelings that were coming up for me, I knew were collective fear of uncertainty, of the times that we're in. You know, there's no denying that we are in times of uncertainty. Is war going to happen? Are more control systems going to be put in place? And these are very real, very human, earthly issues that we are going to be faced with. But And I also just want to acknowledge that, because I know that I share a lot about joy and fantasy and being airy-fairy. And it's a very important part of my life, but I'm also very aware, and I have very strong feelings and opinions on the worldly affairs. I just don't let myself get consumed by it. And I mean, I only share my very personal life choices with people who are very close to me, because I do find it hard to trust people, and that's okay too. But what I do want to share is that no matter what happens in the world, we as individuals must never let go of the power of making our own choices. No matter what any figure of authority or system of control tells us, we must never let go of the sovereignty over our own choices. We cannot continue giving our power away, because it is to no end. It is to no end. It is to no end. And that's why I talk about magic. That's why I talk about joy. Liberating your inner child, following your dreams, doing the shadow work, because these are all things that call our power back. And yeah, I think some of these feelings that were coming up for me were a reminder of, you know, that we do still have a long way to go with humanity and with collective awakening. And by awakening, I don't even mean in like a spiritual or woo-woo sense. I mean awakening to love and awakening to kindness and compassion, and actually putting humans and other beings and the world first. So I think it really kind of hit me, and it was a reminder for me of the importance to just keep following my own moral compass and the North Star of my heart, no matter how many feathers I ruffle along the way or laws that I might break. And something that also came up for me is that I truly believe, oh, that looks like something that will bite me, so I'm just going to slip past. We're just entering into the Witchwoods now, so I'm going to be showing you some elven trees. Something that really came through strong, and I think this is the message that I wanted to share with you the most today, because this has been the most powerful, potent message for me that's come up this week, is that we are scared of the potential of our own power. And when I say we, I'm just talking collectively as humans. we are actually scared of the potential of our power. Why? Because we've been conditioned to be scared of our power, especially as women, because of the witch trials, because of the witch hunts, because of patriarchy, because of the control systems over women's freedoms and rights and over our bodies. But I believe that all people are actually afraid of the potential of their power. And if you even, you know, because I'm a fantasy girly, we're going to do some fantasy references. But even if you think of, like, in fantasy stories, there's always, you know, the most powerful witches and wizards and sorceresses who get consumed by the dark power. So there's, even in fantasy, there's always that underlying fear that, like, power is bad. And, you know, when we look towards, the birds are just divine, the world leaders today and the figures in power, it's like being consumed by that power. You know, we do tend to associate that with something that's evil. However, power is just power, you know, just like money is money. And I've spoken about this before, of the misleading quote that says money is the root of all evil. No, evil intent is the root of all evil. Money is just money, and power is just power. What is the intention behind it? And I truly believe that we are afraid of the potential of our own power. It actually scares us. And to explain why I feel this so strongly is because every time, you know, I was talking about meeting the boss, the level boss, before you level up in a game. Because every time we are ready to take that next step in our lives, whatever that may be, doesn't matter, any corner of our lives, when we are ready to leap, when we're ready to make that quantum leap, why is it that we always seem to go through a stage of extreme hardship or struggle or challenge or fear or anxiety? Why does it feel like we're taking 10 steps back? Because it's all of that fear coming up, being like, I'm actually afraid of being this powerful new version of myself, because we are conditioned to be afraid of becoming something new and shedding old skins behind. But when we actually think about it, we are humans, right? We are animals. We are animalistic in nature. We are meant to chase, and we are meant to shed our skins and shape-shift and be adventurous and fierce, but also loving and soft and playful. And I think that we've become so dehumanized that we forget our animalistic nature, and we forget the true potential of our power, as so much so that it scares us. You know, heaven forbid I upset someone or ruffle some feathers. Let me just see. Okay, I'm going to show you this tree. I actually took a photo of this tree yesterday. How beautiful. Oh my goodness. So elven. Oh my gosh. And the birds in this forest, like, you can actually see my eyes are watering a bit. Like, sometimes I walk through this forest and I cry. I just cry in awe and wonder of the beauty here. I feel very, very connected to these lands. I've touched the earth before and had really strong visions of past lives here and healing these lands. So I'm very attached to these woods, and of course they're called the witch woods. So we are afraid of the potential of our power. So much so that we choose to remain in a cycle of blissful ignorance and allow ourselves to be controlled and told what to do and told what is right and wrong and what is best for us without ever questioning that. And isn't that just crazy? Isn't that just crazy? But I think the world is changing to a point where so much is going to be revealed externally that we won't be able to ignore it anymore. So much darkness and evil is going to come to light that we will be forced to start making our own moral choices. I truly believe that. I truly believe that, because as dark and as evil and as broken as the world seems, that is because on the other side of that there is such amazing, beautiful, benevolent beings and workers of light bringing it to the surface to support us. You know, I feel my own shifting and sense of self and lightness in the last year alone has shifted so much more than ever in my life. And of course I can take some of the responsibility for that, but a lot of it I truly believe and I give thanks to is because of nature, because of my guides, because of all of the beings and forces who are helping us and who are stewarding us to better times. And I just can never ever let go of that hope. But as for me, as soon as I give in or give my power away or do something that in my heart I know does not serve my highest and best good, then I can really crumble back, and it's almost like my life is reversing. So to really step into our power, yes, it's scary. Of course it's scary, and it's going to require us to be brave. And every time that we reach that level boss, that moment of utter despair when it feels like we're in a pressure cooker and we're just like, oh, do you know what, I'm just going to give up everything. Every time we get there, it's going to require a little bit more from us to move forward. But we can do it. We can do it. And that's what this week has been a beautiful reminder of for me, is that when things start going smoothly or going our way, we can, or one can become a bit complacent or a bit lazy, if you like. And it's like just a reminder of the fact that life is a ceremony. Life is a ceremony. And if we really want to shift things in a positive way, if we really want to be the powerful and magical architects of our own lives and our own destinies, we have to put the work in to redirect the course. And we can't avoid any areas of our lives. We've got to have those honest conversations with ourselves, whether that's about our finances, social groups or interactions that may not be serving us, relationships, perhaps even just the way that we are. Can I just bring more kindness into my day? And how might that shift my day? Do I need to just take some time out from everything and just pause? taking action doesn't always mean doing more and adding more. Sometimes taking action means taking away, stripping back and just being. And I've mentioned this, and I just feel called to share it again. But you know, one of my next quantum leaps, you know, the next level in my life that I'm getting to, and it feels like there's such a big boss that I'm facing to get there, is to move into my own home and my own space. And I've already talked about my workout tracker is just talking. I've already spoken about the traumas that I've been working through around this, and I really feel that I've worked through them, you know, and now it's money. Now it's about money. And having these honest conversations with myself, and just, you know, so what I've done is I've just said, okay, I'm gonna draw a line in the sand. Let's start fresh. Draw a line in the sand. I have started now weekly money block alchemy, which is where every week I write down old money stories that are surfacing, and then I rewrite them to something really positive and empowering. And then I say the positive and empowering ones to myself every day 3 times. And then every single day, entering in money received, money spent. Making budgets for my business outgoings and my personal outgoings, and making sure that those are intertwined, because when you lead a heart-centered business, they are one in the other. But it's always being aware of money and making money, like my relationship with money, sacred, and devoting to it, and knowing what I'm earning and what I want to be earning and what I need to be earning to actually move forward, and not letting my sights shift away from that. And I've spoken about this before as well, but I've set a date of when I would love to move by, but also letting go of that time frame and really feeling the gratitude of where I live now, the gratitude of living in a beautiful home that is safe, that is peaceful, and not constantly wanting and yearning and desperately striving for the next thing. Having a goal and realizing that it's just going to take time and work to pay off money that's owed, to put money aside, and really just get into that flow, and taking some stress away from that. And it's just all about pausing, recognizing, acknowledging, taking our power back, and then being the one in the driver's seat of how we then choose to project that energy forward. And it's just so funny that we can get so scared of our own power and our own potential, and so much resistance around that. When it is the way that we change our lives. And it makes sense, you know. What is the one thing that forces of darkness don't want us to have? Power over our own power over our own minds, our own hearts, emotions, bodies, souls, finances, each other. They don't want that. So it's not surprising that the path of most resistance is the one that leads us towards taking back our power. And do you know what? Sometimes when you're having a moment of, when you're having that moment of fear, despair, anxiety, total and utter freak out in the pressure cooker, talk to someone that you trust about it. But tell them, is it okay if I just share with you? I'm not seeking your help. I'm not seeking your support. I'm not crying for help. I'm not complaining. I just need to get this off my chest. If you have someone who can receive you in just saying how you feel without any attachment or expectation to it, that can be the most beautiful medicine as well. Having someone who can listen to you compassionately without trying to rescue you or without trying to sway your opinion or tell you what to do, that is such a beautiful gift. But get it off your chest. If you're having, the quicker that you can release it when you're having those moments where you're facing that level boss and you're scared shitless, just tell someone about it, and then come to that divine inner temple, worshipping at the divine being that is within you, and say, okay, how am I going to get through this? How am I going to get through this? What can I do today? What can I do tomorrow? Let's do this. So I'm going to actually just turn the camera around for the last bit of the walk so you can enjoy it with me. But thank you so much, beautiful souls. If you enjoyed this wandering and pondering video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Drop me a comment. I love reading your comments. Subscribe to my channel if you're new here. And any way that you support is so appreciated. Donations always light up my day, and if you'd like to book a one-to-one session with me, it would be a joy and an honor to hold that space for you. Sending you so much love. And as you can see, it's so green. And look at that triple goddess tree. So magnificent. No, that word doesn't even do that tree justice.